What's good, y'all? It's Cril from Out the Box. I'm here for another video. This time, I'm going to be talking about this Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime performance that I actually enjoyed. I see a lot of people talking about this. At first, I was a little hesitant to do this video because I felt like, everybody's talking about it. Maybe I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and do this video. But then the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? I'm a fan of hip hop. And to me, this Kendrick Lamar performance represented hip hop in an amazing way. I've been doing these lyric explanation videos, and I see a lot of people trying to decipher the performance, right, from a hip hop artist. And also, Kendrick is somebody that I interviewed and I've been a fan of his music for a long time. So it makes sense. It made sense for me to do this video. Now, before I get into my reactions and my thoughts about the performance, I do want to say congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. I was actually rooting for that team, and I'm glad that they brought home the victory and the championship. So big ups to the Eagles. All right. So let's talk about the performance. Like I said, I enjoyed this performance. I think it was well thought out and well delivered. Now, I know there are people out there that felt like the performance was boring. They felt like it could have been a lot better. And I understand the perspective they're coming from because these are people who want to just be entertained, right? But they want to be entertained in the way that they're used to being entertained, right? They want to be able to know the songs, they want to be able to dance. So I get that, but at the same time, being a fan of creative, thought provoking, lyrical hip hop, I appreciate this. I appreciate this performance by Kendrick. I appreciate creativity. I appreciate art. And I think it was brilliant of him to go in this direction. First of all, he stayed true to him as an artist, which you can always respect, right? But who's to say that every Super Bowl performance got to be the same, right? And I know you have different artists that perform and they have different genres, different styles, but it doesn't always have to be this thing where the experience is, oh, I'm dancing, I know every word to this song, I'm enjoying it. It could also be in this manner where it provokes thought. There's this felt like a theatrical experience, right? There's a message in here, right? There's things for you to go back and look at and appreciate. I think this is what this performance does. And I'm very happy, in the way that he chose to display this performance. Now, there are people out there that really enjoyed it just like me, right? And then, of course, there's those people, like I was saying, that they didn't enjoy it. They felt it was boring. My only thing for those people is I would say, I would hope they would have an open mind and at least go back and try to watch the halftime performance again, right? Because it's available online on YouTube for you to watch again. And I feel like if you have an open mind, you can go back and you'll have a better appreciation for what happened in the performance. So that's what I will say. Now, getting into the actual performance itself, I think there were a lot of things that took place that was pretty clever, that I think it hit a lot of areas that was, to me, was satisfying to the person with an open mind, right? So one of the things that I liked about it is that it had the message of the game, right? Like you got this feeling like that you were a part of a halftime performance. You were experiencing a halftime performance that had a theme dealing with the game, because they had like the PlayStation controller images in the beginning of the game, right? In the beginning of the performance. So that was pretty cool to see. And obviously, Samuel L. Jackson playing the role of Uncle Sam, that was pretty brilliant as well. It was one of those things like when you saw him initially and he said he's Uncle Sam, you got it right away. So I think most people watching the performance, they got that right. Now, what was happening with the character uh, Uncle Sam, played by Samuel L. Jackson, I thought that was pretty clever too. He was kind of playing the role of like facilitating the performance, right? Like carrying the performance along, but reminding Kendrick that, hey, you got to play it safe. Don't do anything controversial, right? So that was pretty clever of how he was playing that role. Some people say he was like the Uncle Tom in a sense, and that makes sense as well. And obviously, we know what the controversy was, right? People were wondering whether or not Kendrick was going to perform the Not Like Us record, which is the record that got a lot of controversy, but also got a lot of acclaim for it being like one of the best diss records, one of the most popular diss records. In this sense, it was actually against Drake, right? So, yeah, I like the fact that he eventually performed Not Like Us and he didn't like stray away from performing it. And I thought it was cool that he teased the performance, right? Because it made you feel like, wow, it might not happen, right? And even if it didn't happen, I would have still appreciated it because he didn't like completely ignore it, right? Like when I saw him teasing it at first, and it was like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? And you heard like the a little, you heard a motif of the beat. It was pretty cool, right? And I was like, man, he might not do it. But he actually, when he did perform it, it was almost like, wow, he really did it. Like, I was still a little shocked, you know, a few seconds into the song. I was like, is he really performing it? So I thought that was cool that he did that because it made you feel like he kind of built it up to the point where even when he was actually performing the song for the first few seconds, you were like, is he gonna stop it? Because he did the tease a few times before it came. So that was pretty clever. Like he 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 built up the anticipation for that song even more. And he delivered on it. I did feel like at some points in the performance, like things felt like it was a little short, but I totally got it because it's only a certain amount of time he has to perform, and I think he was brilliant in actually performing all of the songs with a set amount of time that was impactful enough, right, for the audience to enjoy. Now, as far as understanding what he was saying in the performance, I know there were a lot of people that were like, I couldn't understand a word he was saying. Um, I get that, but I think this performance was not meant for you to just watch only in real time during the halftime performance. Like I felt like this performance was done for you to rewatch again and again later on, right? So it was not supposed to be just for your entertainment for the moment, right? So I think these are the things that could happen if someone opens their mind. It could make them say, hey, you know what? I didn't get what he was saying, but the performance in terms of what they were watching was impressive enough that it'll make them want to go and either watch the performance multiple times again, or study Kendrick's music, right? So I would that would be dope if that could come out of that for those people that was like, yo, I couldn't understand it, right? And for the people that enjoyed it, look, I think they're also gonna want to go back and say, hey, let me look at this again to see what I missed or what messages were being conveyed that I didn't catch, right? So a few of the things that I noticed in the performance that was pretty interesting in terms of some of the messages that carried. Obviously, the Uncle Sam, right? That was cool to see, but also the the representation of America, right? With the red, white, and blue colors that the dancers were sporting, right? The scene where in the beginning of the performance, or close to the beginning of the performance, where they actually form together the American flag and the red, white, and blue. That was pretty cool to see. And then you saw Kendrick, he was like in the middle of that display of the flag. And then there were sections where you saw like some of the colors were moving in a different direction. So I think that was kind of symbolic of the divide of the country where some people are Democrat, Republican, so that was an interesting message that I saw there. Also when Kendrick came out and said, and he said this, I'm trying to remember where he said this. It might have been in the middle of the performance where he said, oh yeah, it was actually right before he did Not Like Us. He said 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. And, obviously he's referencing reparations and the fact that Black people have been waiting for so long to receive reparations for what their ancestors had to undergo, right, in this country, so in terms of slavery, obviously, right? So, yeah, I thought that was a pretty profound message to display right before he performed a song that a lot of people were expecting to see him perform, or at least wanted to see him perform. Under that anticipation, he's like, yo, this is bigger than the music, right? So that was interesting that he said that. Now, another thing that I noticed when the dancers were performing is some dancers, although they were all dressed in like red, white, and blue, some of them had on masks. And I think that was a reference to the post COVID era where you see a lot of people wearing masks now. So I think there was as much as the performance dealt with a history of the Black experience in America and the political experience in America. It also was touching on some things that are more closely related to what's been happening as of recent, right? So I think the mask was a representation of that. Also, I know there was in the beginning of the performance, he starts off with a song that I don't think is a song that's from any of his albums. I may be wrong, but that makes me want to go back and listen to the lyrics for that, or see if there's a song out there that he did release already that is that song he was performing, because I thought it was interesting that he chose that and not necessarily any of the records that we know to be from his albums. Let me go through the track list in terms of what was performed. Now, in addition to that first opening track, he did perform Squabble, Humble, DNA, Euphoria, Man at the Garden, Peekaboo, Luther, All the Stars, Not Like Us, and TV Off. So clearly, he had most of the songs he performed was from the GNX album. And I know a lot of people had concerns about that. They felt like he could have done other tracks, maybe from To Pimp a Butterfly album and other tracks that is also a little bit more popular. But again, I don't think Kendrick was out to please everyone with this particular performance. Now, I know a lot of people were expecting to hear "We Gonna Be All Right," right? That song. But to my understanding, he did do that song at the Super Bowl a few years ago, the Super Bowl halftime performance a few years ago when he came as a guest on Dr. Dre's performance, right? So I could understand why he chose not to do it again. And I think he was going for the idea of just doing things in the present as possible with this new album coming out. So again, I don't have any problem with it. I think the people that did have a problem with it, they were looking to be entertained, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that has become the issue a lot of times with a popular genre like hip hop. Artists are not trying to be artistic anymore. They're not trying to push the bar creatively anymore because they're feeding that perception that people always want to be entertained. And Kendrick, I have to say kudos to him. He doesn't play within those parameters, right? He pushes the bar. He's extremely creative, and we have to celebrate that, right? We have to celebrate that. That's how you push the culture forward, by embracing the creativity, embracing the music that represents conscious messages or messages that you can reflect on and think about, that helps you to, you know, find greater meaning in it. So I think there's way more reasons to appreciate this performance than there is to be against it or to hate it. That's just my perspective. But yeah, man, that is pretty much my take on the performance. Let me know what you guys think about it. There was a line that Kendrick said to open the performance. He said, "The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy." I thought that was a pretty impactful message for him to actually lead with. Because I think that was the one thing that, when he starts rhyming at first, you really can't make out a lot of what he's saying because he's rhyming so fast. And if you don't know the song, it's difficult to understand what he's saying, right? But he makes sure that you understand that. I felt like what he meant by that is that, look, he's about to bring something that you've never seen before, right? Performance wise during the Super Bowl halftime show. And by when he says a wrong guy, I think he means, he's not the one to do what you expect everybody to do, right? He's going to push the boundaries. So I think that's what he means by that. But that was an interesting way to start the show, by having those words be expressed in a very clear way. The other thing I thought was really cool about this performance was SZA's guest feature in the performance. I think that the two songs that he chose to perform featuring her were brilliant. And I think her presence within the show helped to add another element to the show that satisfied that entertaining experience that people were looking for. So he didn't just give you the message. There were aspects of him providing that entertainment, like with the scissor, with the Humble record and also with the Not Like Us record, right? So I thought that was cool that he did balance it out like that, so you did get some entertainment that you were looking for. Then I also obviously liked the fact that Serena Williams was pretty much dancing, and there was a cameo of her dancing in the performance. So that was cool. I didn't expect to see that. And I got a chance to see a video where somebody was showing the behind the scenes of when Serena was walking onto the stage. And that was actually cool to see because, you know, you're watching this performance and you're like, you never really see how an the guest artist or the guest feature or the guest cameo gets to the stage, and you get to see how the whole operation takes place. So that was cool to see. But that was dope. I have to admit, when I saw Serena dancing, I was like, I wasn't sure if it was her, but I knew whoever it was, it either was going to be a representation of her or it was her. But it was good to see that it was actually her, because they really surprised us with that, right? I think that was a real genuine surprise. Not just to see her, but to see her like dancing and crip walking, that was a surprise. So yeah, man. There's a lot of pretty fresh stuff that happened in this performance. And yeah, man, kudos to Kendrick Lamar for delivering with the halftime Super Bowl performance. Let me know what you guys thought about the actual performance. Any things that you guys saw that I probably didn't mention yet. I know that the A minor, people were talking about the fact that he was the chain that Kendrick was wearing, the lowercase a represented the A minor, and I think that's right. It was a smaller A, right? Then also when he performed and he looked directly in the camera and he said, "Say Drake." That was like, oh man, he really stuck it to him with that one. Pause. And then the fact that a lot of people were wondering whether he would actually say A minor. He actually said it, and then you heard almost like the crowd saying it at the same time. That was interesting as well. So yeah, this performance had a lot of really dope moments in it, man. And I thought it was one of those performances that you'll look back and appreciate more over the years. I think for hip hop, it was a win-win. And that's really why I wanted to do this video, because this performance was more about hip hop winning. Like, I'm seeing people deciphering and trying to break down the messages in the performance. And I actually started seeing that last year when he released a number of diss records. He had a lot of people, doing lyric observations, and I've even seen elderly people that I know of like breaking down the actual lyrics and the messages and the performance and stuff like that. That's pretty dope. And I think that's a clear win for hip hop, because hip hop, to me, was starting to move away a lot from that, right? Where people weren't, the artists weren't doing music that encouraged thought, encouraged messages, encouraged you to pay a little bit more closer attention to their lyrics because of the layers that they were displaying lyrically. We haven't been getting that from hip hop, especially in the mainstream. So to see Kendrick deliver that, and to see all the people that probably wouldn't be doing that for hip hop on a regular basis, they're actually doing it with someone like Kendrick Lamar's lyrics and his messages and his performance art. I thought that was pretty dope, and it's a win for hip hop. To me, that's saying that lyricism is on its way back. And I hope that more people don't just start paying attention to lyrics and deciphering lyrics for people like Kendrick Lamar, but for a lot of other artists, especially in the independent scene, that still put a lot of thought and creativity into their lyrics. So yeah, man, that was really cool to see as an outcome of this performance. And I think Kendrick, man, he is an example of what it means to be pushing the culture of hip hop forward. When I interviewed him years ago, and you guys can catch that interview on my other YouTube channel, Out the Box TV. I'll put a link to it in the description so that you know where to go. When I interviewed him years ago, man, it was such a refreshing interview. First of all, he was pretty kind. He was very kind. He was humble. You could see he had a lot of integrity. And as you're watching the interview, you'll see that the questions that I chose to ask him were meaningful questions. And he responded in the interview by telling me, "Yo, that was a good question." You know, I think there was one question where he was like, "Nobody asked me that before." So yeah, I mean, that was really dope to do that interview with him. And from the time I did the interview with him, I knew he was special, not only because of his music, but because of his personality, his integrity. He was very kind during the interview, man. So I'm gonna always be rooting for Kendrick because he gave me an interview at a time when he wasn't as famous as he is now, but he was one of those names that was really popular. This was around the time of the double XL freshman cover, right? A little bit after that. So he was a name, and you know, it was really cool to be able to do that interview, man. So, man, respect to Kendrick Lamar, man. Thank you. Thank you. I never got a chance to do a video where I actually thanked you for your contribution to the art post this Drake battle, right? Like, you elevated hip hop on a level that I really appreciate, man. And I thank you, man. And I wish you much continued success, and all the rewards you deserve. So yeah, man, I just wanted to come on here and share my thoughts on the performance. Let me know what you guys thought about the performance. And yeah, and look out for more lyric explain videos coming up. I got some more coming up. I know I took a little break, but I was focused on doing the Out the Box Radio mix show that I did the other day. So you could check that out. I'll put a link to it in the description. That's the Out the Box Radio music mix. I did like a best of hip hop of 2024 and a best new hip hop of January 2025 mix. So I'll put that in the description. And yeah, like I said, I got lyric explain videos coming up, so look out for that. Feel encouraged to subscribe to the channel if you like what you hear and what you've been seeing with the channel so far. Subscribe to this channel, Out the Box Media, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. All right. Thank you again. Appreciate you all, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy. Peace, love, and light. Yeah, take it easy.